But first, never-before-seen video of Hillary Clinton inside the Walmart empire. She's probably one of the most investigative politicians in American history. And this morning, you're going to see her in a way you've never seen her before.
Hillary has not hysterically denounced waterboarding.
Those attacks are just so old. They don't reflect what's happening in our country today. It's not about the future. It's about the past. It's not about the future. It's about the past.
I loaned the campaign $5 million from my money.
Hillary has not denounced the Swift boat veterans as dishonorable and dishonest.
That's where I got the money. I loaned it because I believe very strongly in this campaign. We had a great month fundraising in January. Broke all records, but my opponent was able to raise more money.
Both of them voted for the war in Iraq. Both of them immediately attacked it. When John McCain started to run for president, he supported the surge.
And we intended to be competitive, and we were. And I think the results last night proved the wisdom of my investment.
Well, let me just say that I was wrong last year. I would have picked Senator Clinton all year. I thought she would win this fairly handily. I've been surprised at how much she's underperformed and how well Senator Obama's performed. So just keep it in that light.
Let me ask you this. I know because on your new video blog you have said that Hillary Clinton scares the holy crap out of you.
Well, I just think that I want to make it very clear. I wasn't talking about scary like politically. There's a whole thing to talk about there. I was talking about scary like Jerry Lee Lewis. You know, like you just go, I don't want that person yelling at me.
Brian, I'm very concerned about this. These funds are controlled often by governmental entities or individuals who are closely connected to the governments in these countries. I think we've got to know more about them. They need to be more transparent.
Well, if she wants answers, she should ask one of her chief strategists and pollsters, Mark Penn. He'd know. Penn's the CEO of a big PR firm that represents the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, a group that purchased a nearly 5% stake in Citigroup this past fall.
I like Hillary, but it reminds me a little of President Bush with Karl Rove standing right behind him saying, we got to get to the bottom of the Scooter Libby League. The guy's right behind. He's right behind. Ask him. Stand right there.
As a shareholder and director of our company, I'm always proud of Walmart and what we do and the way we do it better than anybody else.
I'm better prepared for this than anybody else, while at the same time being able to deny that that was anything in the same league, let alone the same ballpark as a Republican treatment of the Democrats will let you die and only the Republicans can save you in the event of terrorism.
Right, she's accepting the Republican Rovian Bush framework that the way you decide political questions is by scaring people.
Actually, Tim, a moment of real emotional connection. Those of us who are running for office and holding office, I know it may be hard to believe, are also human beings. And when I spend my time out on the campaign trail, it's usually about what I can do for somebody else. You know, I'm very other-directed. I don't like talking about myself. For me, it's always about what can I do for you? How can I help you? And I was very touched when that woman said, well, how are you doing? How do you get up in the morning? Because really, the question is, for so many of the people that I meet, how does anybody get up in the morning? I just went door to door in Las Vegas. I met construction workers who've lost their jobs. I met a man who's been laid off from the casinos because the economy is beginning to go down. I meet people who can't get health care for their families, people who are just distressed over, you know, what is happening in our country. So when somebody asked me, how do you get up, it really triggered in me, you know, the feeling that, you know, that's what I want us all to think about each other. How do we get up? How do we, you know, pull on our shoes, go out and deal with the problems America faces?
Beth, we talk about that explanation on Meet the Press. What did you make of it?
Well, she's obviously had several days to reflect on that moment in Portsmouth, and now she's starting to describe it in a way that sounds a little bit more political than genuine. She says, oh, you know, it really was for me about the fact that everybody has to get up in the morning and put on their shoes and figure out a way to get through the day, and that she doesn't like to talk about herself. Well, all politicians like to talk about themselves. Being in politics is a very sort of egocentric business, but she's now casting that emotional moment in a way that is, you know, benefits her politically, which.
Well, as a member of the press, what do you make of that argument that the press has not paid more, has not given Senator Obama's record more scrutiny, and that they've paid more attention to Senator Clinton's record?
Well, obviously, since I covered this story myself, have a hard time with that argument. We've done a very thorough job on Senator Clinton, no doubt about it. She's somebody who's been in the public eye for many, many years, and she's well known to people. But she was also the heavy frontrunner for most of this race. It was only in the week or two before Iowa that people even started to believe that Barack Obama might have a chance in this thing. The frontrunner status brings with it additional scrutiny. And I think it's fair to say that if Barack Obama becomes the clear frontrunner in this race, it's basically now the campaign is between him and Senator Clinton. So he is, in effect, vying for frontrunner. He deserves every bit of scrutiny that the Clinton campaign says he deserves. Nobody disagrees with that. But for them to say, oh, it's unfair, we get all the bad press coverage and he gets nothing but glowing press coverage, I really think is a little off the mark.
Senator Obama, when speaking, used Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan, as an example of change. Now, my view is I would never use Ronald Reagan as an example of change.
My leading opponent the other day said that he thought the Republicans had better ideas than Democrats the last 10 to 15 years. That's not the way I remember the last 10 to 15 years.
You know, it's a sad point in our history when a presidential candidate cannot look back over the course of our history and show admiration for a president who did what he said. He didn't really say that he had better ideas. He said that he had transformed the country, created a conservative movement. Now, I can understand why Edwards and Hillary take that point up. But I think what's happening here is that Hillary has a sense of playing to the base, as Edwards was, and the base doesn't like Ronald Reagan. They don't like Bush. But what Obama was trying to say was, if you want a transformative presidency, if you want somebody who's going to be able, as Teddy Roosevelt was, as FDR was, as perhaps John Kennedy was, to inspire and move the country forward, you've got to have those skills that Ronald Reagan had. It's an historical fact. There was nothing wrong with saying that.
The Salmon Press in New Hampshire, which endorsed Hillary Clinton, cited as one of the reasons that when they talked to her in the interview, she listed Ronald Reagan as one of her favorite presidents.
That's right. May I have a cheap, self-serving moment in my book, Boom?
A bestseller, Boom, by Tom Brokaw.
She says that Ronald Reagan plays the music beautifully, and she talked about how he balanced the interests of the middle class and took on the Soviets. And John Edwards may forget that what Ronald Reagan did was create a whole new class of voters that Peggy especially is familiar with, called Reagan Democrats.
Yeah, baby.
A lot of people came across the line.
Which is why John's statement was so surprising. Because, I mean, if you look at his stump speeches, if you look at, the proposals that he's putting forth, they're clearly aimed at Reagan Democrats. So why he would stand on the stump and pillory Reagan, I thought was curious.
I thought Obama looked gracious, I must say. I thought he looked above the fray and gracious, and I thought he was echoing Pat Moynihan, former Democratic Senator Pat Moynihan's statement in 1979, of a sudden the Republican Party is the party of ideas. That's what he was trying to say.
I'll further complicate this conversation because Moynihan did say exactly that. And in 2002, after the Democrats lost the midterm elections, William Jefferson Clinton said, quote, "The Democrats have to have ideas to win. We are MIA, missing in action on national security, and have no positive plan for America's domestic future." Compare that to what President Clinton said Friday in Nevada about Barack Obama's comments about Ronald Reagan.
Our principal opponent said that since 1992, the Republicans had all the good ideas. It goes along with their plan to ask Republicans to become Democrats for a day and caucus with you tomorrow, and then go back and become Republicans so they can participate in the Republican primary. I'm not making this up, folks.
This is going to be fantastic, what role that Bill Clinton is going to play.
Yeah. Can I say, on the campaign trail, one of the things I find jarring the past few weeks is that Hillary Clinton is the first major party woman running for president of the United States. She is a woman. She's running for president. She's running for head of the United States, chief executive officer, and she has to send her husband out to yell at the neighbors. It's like she's saying, you go out there, you fight for me. My husband's going to tell you off. There's something strange, jarring, unbecoming, and even unfeminist